edition of the Dan O'Donnell Show starts right now. We take a look back at forgotten history in the 10 o'clock hour. Coming up at the end of the 9 o'clock hour, we name our unhinged liberal of the day. President Biden is headed to Superior today to tout his superior economy. A look at the actual data shows that it's anything but. Also, why is it the Biden administration, and by extension the Democrat Party and the rest of the organizational left, is fighting so hard to stop Texas from enforcing America's southern border? We will dive into that, all coming up on a jam-packed show. If you would like to join us, the AdventNows.com talk and text line is always open. Every single minute of every single show, we like to keep our producer busy, and we do check the text line pretty regularly and try to incorporate phone calls and texts as much as is practicable. That's 414-799-1130. You can reach us toll free, 1-800-838-9476. Email me directly, dod@iheartmedia.com. You can watch the show streaming live, twitter.com/Dan O'Donnell Show, or if you will, x.com/Dan O'Donnell Show, facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show as well, and on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Dan O'Donnell Show. As the kids say, like and subscribe. Your chance at $1,000 in cash instantly. Right now, the cold hard cash contest word this hour is pay. P-A-Y, pay, as in we will pay you to listen to me. $1,000 if your entry is picked at random. You go to our website, you enter the keyword pay. When you're prompted, you'll see the pop-up immediately upon going to the website. If your entry is picked at random, we pay you $1,000 in cash instantly. So President Biden is indeed going to go to Wisconsin just 2 days after his vice president, Kamala Harris, was here talking about what else? Abortion. President Biden, though, we are told, is going to be focusing on the economy. His press secretary, KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre, doing a victory lap this morning after the GDP figure came in at 3.3%. So, of course, she's all over the media, and the Biden administration is blanketing morning talk shows this morning to try to, well, for lack of a better phrase, polish the turd that is the American economy.
This didn't happen by accident. What we're seeing with the trends, the economic trends, it's because of what this president has done. He's put equity at the center of everything that he's talked about when it comes to the economy. 14 million jobs created. Last year, 2.7 million jobs created. Unemployment under 4%. Wages are up. That matters. He's going to talk about that today in Wisconsin.
Of course he is. Unfortunately, everything Karine Jean-Pierre said on CNN this morning, or whatever the CNN morning show is called, was completely missing context. Yes, there have been 2.7 million jobs created, or whatever it is, but are we sure about that? Because every single month, the labor report was revised downward in 2023. Seriously, they did not miss a single month. And by the way, we seem to have had this debate as well during the during the Obama administration a decade or so before. What is a created job versus a recovered job? You might remember that starting in March of 2020, governments across the country, both federal, state, and local as well, prevented people from going to work. I don't know if you noticed, but that had a real-world impact on the number of total people working. So many people got laid off that we essentially necessitated a couple of rounds of stimulus, direct stimulus to the American worker who suddenly couldn't work, and stimulus in the form of direct payments to companies, government programs. Essentially, we nationalized our economy for the better part of 4 or 5 months. And in blue states, you had people who weren't physically able to go to work because their jobs were still shut down for far longer, or even after the economy opened up, because business had slowed down to the point where there just wasn't enough demand and companies still weren't able to make the profits that they were before the pandemic. people weren't going back to work. And at the same time, right around the point at which people should have been going back to work, you had the Biden administration take office, immediately pump extended unemployment benefits for far longer than they should have been in place, combined with an ill-advised stimulus in April of 2021 that actually directly led to the hyperinflation that we saw over the next couple of months. Nearly 72% of all job gains since Biden took office in January of 2021 were jobs that were being recovered from the pandemic. We still aren't back to full pre-pandemic employment. Employment actually, when you account for population, because of population growth, because of people entering working age, which is defined as, I believe, 16 years old for the purposes of Labor Department statistics, employment is up only 3.7 million. However, adjusted for inflation, that's still badly lagging job creation under President Trump. Under President Trump, during the same period of time, 3 years in his presidency, job creation was 6.7 million. That's 3 million more jobs than under the current president. Now, the labor force participation rate is what you really want to look at when factoring in how healthy the jobs economy is. It remains steady at 0.7 percentage points lower under Biden than it was when President Trump took office. When you adjust for population gains, nearly 2 million more Americans are not working than they were during the previous administration. Now, how exactly can this happen? How exactly can so many Americans not be working and still we see so many jobs, quote, created? I think the answer is actually remarkably simple. If you have more jobs, but fewer people filling those jobs, what are the people who are working doing? They're taking second jobs. I would argue it has never been easier in the history of the United States to take a second job. The gig economy actually makes it remarkably easy. And in fact, if you're a young go-getter and you're looking to make some more money, you're looking to have spending money, or you're looking to afford the same things that you could easily afford under President Trump just 3 years ago, but can't now after 3 years of hyperinflation under Biden, go drive for Uber, go drive for Lyft, DoorDash. Any one of these, they literally allow you to set your own hours. All you do is you turn on the clock on your phone. You start accepting rides, you start accepting orders from like an Uber Eats or something like that. You pick your own hours. You can choose which passengers to pick up, which orders to take. It is simple. Because of the ease of that, so many more people are doing it. The gig economy has led to hundreds of thousands of jobs, but it's not as though this is, say, a family supporting job. Sure, you can. If you hustle your butt off, you can clearly make a family supporting income at Uber or Lyft. In fact, I've talked to any number of drivers who do just that. In fact, a lot of them will. It's actually kind of remarkable how many legal immigrants, people who are coming here on student visas, are doing just that and going to school at night or going to school during the day and driving Uber at night. It's been a remarkable boon for people who want to make extra income. But the reality is a whole lot of people are being forced into part-time or side gigs, not because they want to have a side hustle and they're looking to make extra drinking money, but because they simply can't afford the things that they could afford 3 years ago. In a recent Federalist column, yes, it is posted. We do have links up to it at Dan O'Donnell Show on Twitter, X, Facebook.com/Dan O'Donnell Show. Took a while to get posted, but in fact, it is up there now. Front page of the Federalist, at least it was late yesterday. No, you are not better off than you were 4 years ago. I just take a look at basic consumer spending power from January 20th, 2020 to January 20th, 2024, Biden's third anniversary of being inaugurated. It costs $11,434 more today than it did in January of 2020 to spend on the exact same stuff. Household budgets are being stretched so thin that it's almost a necessity that so many people are taking on second jobs. And this is borne out in the labor statistics that were released in December. The BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, reported an increase in non-farm payrolls of 216,000 jobs. But what did I say earlier? Every single month was revised downward. November and October were revised downward by a combined 71,000 payrolls. So 1/3 of the jobs that were allegedly added in December were ones that we thought were added in either October or November. Consider also the current unemployment rate at 3.7%. It only stayed that way because in December, a staggering 680,000 people left the workforce and were no longer being counted as unemployed. The labor force participation rate is the lowest it's been since last February. And almost all of the jobs that are being quote unquote created are part-time jobs. In December, the economy actually shed 1.5 million full-time jobs, the biggest monthly pullback since 2020. That essentially wiped out all of the full-time jobs that had been gained throughout 2023. So how is the labor force participation rate essentially staying at the exact same spot? Because so many of those full-time workers who either had their jobs cut back or who can no longer afford on their one salary are in fact taking on multiple jobs. The number of multiple job holders is now 8.6 million. That is a brand new record. And every time someone takes on a second job, of course, it's counted as a created job. So this is how we're creating jobs, quote unquote, which are actually being recovered from the massive jobs pullback that we're still recovering from March of 2020. And we're not actually adding people into the workforce. It's a really creative way for the Biden administration to be able to say, oh, yes, the economy is doing great, when people actually on the ground are not feeling it. Over and over and over again, they're saying it. And in fact, the Biden administration has been for the past year or so in a near panic mode. How do we convince these idiots that Bidenomics is working for them? Well, it's not. In fact, a couple of days ago, Tony Dokoupil, the CBS Morning News reporter, was dispatched to New Hampshire because of the New Hampshire primary, and he actually asked people at a grocery store, hey, how are you feeling about the nation's economy?
Food prices, for example, generally going up, and we talked to a bunch of people outside of a grocery store in Derry, New Hampshire. We couldn't find anybody feeling good about the economy, and that's just human nature. Psychologically, you go into a store, if you're paying more for items that you get every week, that really sticks with you. It really annoys you. It gets you down. People were upset about it. And so are they making it? Yeah, they're making it. But are they bothered by the fact that frozen OJ has gone up double digits and that steak on Friday is up double digits? Absolutely. And that's really driving people's perspective on things.
Yeah, the perspective is that they can no longer afford steak on Friday. It's not that they're swallowing it and just paying the extra. It's that people are cutting back on the things that they used to be able to buy. This is contributing to that negative view of the economy. But let me ask you this. If the economy is so bad, if President Biden is coming to Wisconsin to try to desperately spin the economy as being good, how exactly is the Biden administration going to make the case that even though things were objectively much better economically for everyday Americans under the Trump administration, that they're actually better off now? And the answer is that they're not even going to try. Leave it to old Jimmy Carville to give up the game. We'll have that coming up next here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. Hey, Dan here. I love fantasy football. You love fantasy football. And now DraftKings, the leader in daily fantasy sports, has a new way to play fantasy football. It's called Pick Six, and getting started is easy. Download the DraftKings Pick Six app. Sign up using code GREATESTPICK. Just pick between 2 and 6 NFL players. Choose if they're going to have more or less of a stat. For example, more or less than 100 yards rushing. Track your lineup. Compete against others to win big cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Pick Six
Pick6 app now and sign up with code GreatestPick. That's code GreatestPick. Only on DraftKings Pick6. The crown is yours. Approved local P6 states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 18 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Valid only in states where DraftKings Pick6 operates. For up-to-date list of states, please visit dkng.com/pick6states. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com.
Tune in every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. as Ellenbecker Investment Group highlights local people and organizations who are using their time and their talents to give back to make a difference in our community. Milwaukee's philanthropic community. Visit ellenbecker.com to learn more.
Join News Talk 1130 this Saturday at 4 p.m. for The Word on Medicine, the show that brings you the latest medical innovations and discoveries by physicians and scientists at the Medical College of Wisconsin. That's Saturday afternoon at 4 on News Talk 1130, WISN.
Progressive presents 10 things on a food truck owner's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Stocking the fridge, prepping the stations, finding employees that get along well, finding employees that actually do their job. Looking at you, Gary. Balancing the books, balancing the flavors, having a fresh menu and fresh produce and fresh meat, but never a fresh mouth. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
I know, some houses are strange, weird, need significant repairs, perhaps just really tough to sell. I get it. You feel you need to pay 6% to sell it, and maybe you truly do. This is Bob Tarantino from Redefined Realty. If you have a property that is kind of normal, generally really nice, maybe even just plain stunning, the Redefined Realty 3.99% commission plan will get the job done just fine. Our marketing is amazingly similar to the 6% brokers. We're even in the same local MLS. Visit redefinedrealty.com for details and a free market analysis.
Major phone carriers make you sign contracts with rigid data plans to trap you into a kind of forced phonogamy. Sounds pretty insecure if you ask me. At Consumer Cellular, we believe in a more consensual and healthy form of phonogamy, free of contracts and more flexible to your data needs. This way, you stick around not because we force you to with contracts and fees, but because you love our phone plans. Like ardently love our phone plans. Phonogamously. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Conservative thought. Not just talk. This is the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Text here on the adventknows.com talk and text line. Always love getting your questions and feedback. Hi, Dan. Great show as usual. Dan, has there been any statistics on all the green jobs for all the pipeline workers that Joe Biden promised? And that's actually interesting that you asked that, because I was wondering that myself. So I actually looked it up. In fact, there was an article just 6 days ago in Politico entitled Biden's 2024 Challenge Green Jobs by Rebecca Alvey. Companies rushed to launch projects and capitalize on federal tax incentives after the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act and its $370 billion in clean energy spending. But companies pledging multi-billion-dollar investments on U.S. plants for batteries, electric cars, solar panels, and offshore wind components are just getting started. This leaves a key component of Biden's promise unfulfilled: jobs. The messaging is challenging, says Democratic Representative Dan Kildee of Michigan, where recent polls show Biden trailing GOP frontrunner Donald Trump. People actually need to see the results for themselves. We've got our work cut out for us. And it's been a bumpy road. Hiring has stalled, with some key manufacturing in swing states like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania losing factory jobs in 2023. Manufacturers only added 12,000 jobs last year, which falls far short of Biden's promises for economic booms. So to answer your question, dear listener, no, there haven't been green jobs added. The exact statistics are apparently about 20,000 or so short. And remember, we were promised the moon, which is, oh my gosh, the green economy is just going to revolutionize everything, and it might. I'm not discounting the fact. Clearly, alternative sources of energy are the future, but that future necessarily includes the burning of fossil fuels. And it's amazing how we're for the last 20, 30 years now, just on the cusp of this green revolution. We just need more government investment. If we can just get a couple of $1 billion more, we'll be able to get. And we've never been closer to a green revolution in personal automobiles than we are right now. Electric cars they're dramatically increasing in popularity, but they're still not hitting a critical mass of people who want them. And the reason for that is rather simple. They're still perceived to be unreliable in cold weather, for example, where the batteries are not always going to work, and they aren't seen as reliable for long-haul driving, where if you have to stop to charge your car, it's going to take you far longer to get where it is you need to go. And if you're stuck in an area that doesn't have electric chargers, and this is critical, you are SOL. So the infrastructure still isn't there. But with so many unfulfilled promises and with such an obviously poor track record, how is it that Biden expects to win re-election? Well, leave it to the mouth of the South himself, Jimmy Carville, on MSNBC with Ari Melber last night, gave away the game. Look, folks, Trump is going to win if we treat him as a normal candidate. If you say, okay, Trump's economic vision versus Biden's economic vision, Trump's views on immigration versus Biden's views on immigration, it's no contest. Trump is going to mop the floor with Biden, so we can't allow that. Here's Jimmy C.
There is a chance that Trump could win this election. And the way that he wins is he's treated as a normal candidate. Look, James, you got your views, and he's got his views. And he's been found to be a rapist by a jury. Why in the New York Times or anybody, every time he's in, Donald Trump, who was found by a jury to have raped a woman, said this. The public doesn't, we're ill-informing the public of just what a wretched human being this man is. And there is a giant effort to try to normalize this.
So if you normalize Trump, i.e., you talk about him as a normal candidate instead of this horrible threat to democracy that is unparalleled in American history. But, the dirty little secret from Democrats is that every other Republican is just as big a threat to democracy as he is. Trump could actually win. This is a remarkable admission. If Trump is treated as a normal candidate, and Carville has been sounding the alarm about Joe Biden's chances of winning re-election for almost 3 years now, almost since Biden took over. Carville has been saying he is uniquely weak. Obviously, the economy is a big, big issue for Biden. And there's an even bigger issue that could single-handedly win this election for Trump. And I think Democrats are just starting to come around to it. But of course, their entire strategy is to just ignore the issues. Just don't even focus on Biden. Don't even focus on any actual substantive issue, but rather frame Trump as this horrible Hitler-like threat to the American Republic and hopefully scare just enough dumb liberals to get out to the polls and to support a candidate that they really don't like all that much. We're going to see if we can go for 3 consecutive days of pro-Palestinian protesters heckling and interrupting Biden's speeches. This is how beloved this guy is in the millennial and Generation Z left. In fact, they referred to him as Genocide Joe because of his support for Israel. So this isn't as though we've got a candidate here like Barack Obama where liberals were just going to naturally come out because they love him so much. The entire strategy for voter turnout is just get mail-in ballots in the hands of everybody who your data shows that hasn't returned a mail-in ballot yet. And also to terrify gullible leftists who are prone to believing that Donald Trump, if Trump wins, it will be the end of democracy. I mean, think about how illogical that is. If the people democratically elect a president, that is going to mean that democracy is over. And there are people out there who genuinely do believe that there won't be any more elections if Trump is elected president. Okay, well, if that's the case, how come he threw caution to the wind in 2020? How come he threw caution to the wind in 2018? If he was a dictator, how come he didn't just cancel elections for those 2 years? How come none of the stuff that you guys are saying is going to happen in a second Trump term actually happened in a first? But what is that issue that could single-handedly beat Joe Biden? Yeah, it's the obvious one. We'll talk about it next.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Chris and Tim closed their first loan with Accunet $116,000 ago in terms of the median sales price in southeastern Wisconsin. We helped their daughter buy a home earlier this year, and now we're helping them buy their retirement condo. We're told there were 3 offers, 2 cash offers, and Chris and Tim's offer backed up by an Accunet rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval. All 3 offers were probably over the asking price, but we're surmising Chris and Tim's offer was the highest because when the sellers asked the listing broker if they could count on the offer with the pre-approval letter, the answer was simply, Accunet really does their homework. It's not easy to beat a cash offer over the asking price, but that's exactly what Tim and Chris did with some help from their trusted family mortgage lender. If you don't think the lender's name on your pre-approval letter matters, think again. It's still a seller's market in the Badger State, so click on the blue button at Accunet.com today to get started with your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval. That's ACCUNET.com.
Skip waiting for a table. Enjoy a homemade fish fry every Friday at Sendix. Enjoy 3 pieces of beer-battered, wild-caught Northern Atlantic cod. With your choice of Sendix original potato pancakes or French fries, your meal comes with all the fixins: fresh rye bread, creamy coleslaw, homemade applesauce, and Sendix tartar sauce. Or choose from fried shrimp, walleye fillets, or baked cod. Every Friday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. at your neighborhood Sendix. Sendix Food Markets, your trusted local grocer.
Being present and in the moment for family activities was impossible because Will Burt was so focused on the constant pain in his leg.
My wife likes to take walks. I always kind of dreaded going on walks because they hurt. The boys both play baseball. I coach their teams. I was going to do them and be in pain and be uncomfortable and kind of sacrifice my own health.
An old Achilles injury left Will coping with agonizing pain until he discovered the natural biologic treatments at QC Kinetics. No surgery or steroids. The procedure took place in the office, and Will walked right out.
I feel great. There's no pain. There's no tenderness.
Patients like Will are feeling amazing and living their best lives.
Ironically, just got off the golf course today, so I think that's a good telltale sign that the Achilles is feeling better.
Don't be in pain another day. Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics, 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. 414-285-3474.
This is Brad Youngbluth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company. The Energy Star ratings for windows are getting a lot tougher to get the tax credit, so you're going to want to take advantage of. Fortunately, we still have options that will qualify you for those tax credits. Now, I can sit here and talk benefits of this product or what's great about that product. So can everybody else. But what a lot of operations can't do is, with complete confidence, stand behind the crew that's going to be on that next job. Talk is cheap, I get it, but our people are exceptional. How do I know? Because me and Vito handpick every single person that makes our team. Some make the cut, a lot don't. And that's why you can be confident that the windows we install for you will be top quality, installed right, and that you're going to get great service. And that's never failed us. So for your home's new windows, you can count on Semper Fi to keep you safe, warm, and dry.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry, Semper Fi.
Have you heard about the Paragon sectional sofa at Penny Mustard?
I have a funny story about this sofa.
Do tell.
When my mom bought the Paragon, she banned my stepdad from sleeping on it.
Why?
He naps so often on the old sectional, his body left a permanent impression.
That's what you get with a second-rate foam.
Today, their Paragon looks the same as the day they bought it.
Of course. It's made with individual seat springs and Qualex ultra-high resiliency foam.
But here's the deal. The Paragon is so comfortable, both my stepdad and my mom have fallen asleep on it. And since the cushions are still perfect, they have no idea the other one's sneaking naps.
That's funny.
But it's a secret, so don't tell anybody.
I hope your folks don't listen to the radio.
Uh-oh.
The Paragon sectional sofa, starting at $91.27 at Penny Mustard.
Showrooms in Milwaukee and Chicago.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing. Gold just hit a new all-time high, and it could go much higher as people realize just how delicate our economy is. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and I've spoken to many Americans who are deeply concerned about losing everything and not being able to do anything about it. This is why I'm thankful for physical gold IRAs from Birch Gold Group. Because unlike digital and paper assets, gold is a true safe haven that all Americans should consider for their financial security. To find out more, text the word SECURE to 989898. Birch Gold Group will send you a free info kit on gold IRAs. This is your chance to secure your IRA or 401k against the unpredictable nature of our economy. Text SECURE to the number 989898 now to request your free info kit on gold IRAs.
The free iHeartRadio app has over 100 commercial-free stations waiting for you to explore right now, like Deep Cuts, featuring deep album tracks from iconic artists like the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, The Who, The Stones, and more. Try something new for 2024. Just open the free iHeartRadio app, search Deep Cuts, and listen now. iHeartRadio. Free never sounded so good.
Text here on our AdventNews.com talk and text line on the Dan O'Donnell Show. I work for a logistics company that is a distribution service provider for Amazon. We are a heavy delivery unit, which means we deliver products that weigh more than 50 pounds or have a dimension of 36 inches or more. The usual load on our trucks is televisions, furniture, office equipment, and exercise equipment. Based on our loads in the fourth quarter and now in January, the economy is suffering. Since the holidays, we have had our deliveries reduced to 25% or less of what they were in January 2023. Consumers do not have discretionary money, and that is a fantastic observation, very astute, that with the larger deliveries, those typically are things that people would be buying, like a new ottoman or something like that from Amazon, or they're buying a new TV. It's something that they would otherwise consider buying, but they're feeling like they're stretched too thin, that their dollar just isn't cutting the mustard anymore. In fact, Rick Santelli of CNBC.com, I know I've been talking about this quite a bit over the last couple of weeks since he said it, because it's just so fascinating. If you go back and look at the Fed's own inflation calculator, you will find that what a dollar would buy you, or what a dollar would get you before the pandemic. So by definition, 4 years ago, answering the Ronald Reagan question, are you or are you not better off than you were 4 years ago? What cost $1 in January of 2020 now costs $1.19. By definition, that means you have 19% less purchasing power than you did under Trump at the same point in his presidency. And obviously, a year later, actually just a couple of months later, you had the ultimate black swan event that I believe actually cost Trump the presidency, and that was COVID-19, because the way the media was pushing for the economy to be shut down and then just blasting Trump at every stretch, I would argue that it became very, very difficult for any incumbent to win in that environment. And in fact, as we established earlier this week, Trump only essentially lost by about 42,000 votes spread across 3 states. And this is why there is this massive push for Biden, as Jimmy Carter said, to not normalize Trump. And if you noticed, the news networks didn't cover Trump's speeches in either Iowa or New Hampshire. They said, well, it's because he lies so much. It's because we have a duty. And I thought this was hilarious. Rachel Maddow comes on MSNBC and says, we have a duty to our viewers to only air truthful content. Well, what happened when Brian Williams was fired from the NBC Nightly News for lying about pretty much much every personal anecdote he ever told. They put him on MSNBC, where it was obvious it didn't really matter if you are an inveterate liar. So don't give me that. They don't want Trump to speak directly to the American people, because the American people would realize, okay, the guy he has an odd way of speaking, and, you know, he says things that no other politician does. But ultimately, his message, hey, let's control our border. Hey, let's go back to where we were as a country when I was president. Weren't you doing a lot better in your own personal finances? Weren't things a lot better? Wasn't America larger on the global stage? And that's a piece of this equation that nobody ever seems to want to talk about. We were told that Trump was going to start World War III. I can actually remember it was Labor Day weekend in either 2018 or 2019 when Trump was in this war of tweets with Kim Jong-un. Remember, he was calling him Little Rocket Man, and he said, I have a button and it's much bigger than Kim's button. And the guy was clearly having fun with this, making the double entendres. I was actually called in. We had a meeting over the phone with management. They said, hey, could you just be ready to work in case World War III breaks out this weekend? I literally had to be on call for World War III. Everyone was concerned. Oh, my goodness. And then remember in January of 2020, when Trump ordered the assassination of Qasem Soleimani in response for the Iranians taking down that billion-dollar drone, we were told this is going to start World War III. We were told when Trump announced that he was going to move the United States Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem and fully recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, that was going to start World War III. Oh, my goodness, this was going to inflame the region. Well, what actually did? When was there a massive terror attack on Israeli citizens under Biden? We were told constantly that Putin was going to be the ultimate aggressor in Eastern Europe under Trump because he was so emboldened, right? This was Trump's guy. He installed Trump while hacking the 2016 presidential election. It never happened. It happened in early 2022 under Joe Biden. In fact, under Trump, we were on a pathway, and this, to me, was the most significant achievement of the Trump administration that nobody ever talks about. In fact, we were on a path to multiple Middle Eastern countries recognizing and normalizing relations with Israel in what were known as the Abraham Accords. In fact, Saudi Arabia was very close to doing so, and then, of course, what happened? Trump lost the election. Biden, by the way, is still taking credit for the Abraham Accord, saying, well, I was very close to getting Saudi Arabia to acknowledge Israel and to normalize relations with Israel. No, you weren't. No, you weren't, you liar. That was Donald Trump. That was Jared Kushner spearheading that effort to essentially go around Iran. Essentially, it was to cut Iran out of the Middle Eastern peace process. Because the one thing Iran wants to be is the power broker in, well, the one thing it wants is the destruction of Israel. And the Trump administration smartly realized that if we just cut Iran, cut these psychopaths out of negotiations, there are cooler heads in the United Arab Emirates, even amongst the Saudis, who will actually do what we say, because the implied backing of the, well, implied backing, the full backing of the explicit backing of the United States and the implied benefits of better relationships with the United States and access to its markets and goods and all of that is a big economic reason. It's a huge incentive to normalize relations with Israel. Hell, all we have to do is stop supporting terror attacks on Israel and we get all these benefits. Seems perfectly rational. Every other country seems to be okay with that, except, of course, Iran. And alas, here we are with Iran-backed Houthi rebels who are launching attacks on American and British merchant ships. They can't even go through the Red Sea anymore. It's such a mess. Of course, nobody's talking about this, the fact that we are essentially at war with the Houthis under, once again, President Peace, President return to normalcy, President return to an elevated status of America in the world. Oh, America is finally going to be respected in the world if Joe Biden is president. Yeah, well, that didn't happen. Now, the one issue Folks, I can tell you with absolute certainty, there is one issue. It's not the Houthi rebels. It's not Middle East peace. It's not funding for Ukraine. It's not even the economy. The one issue that could single-handedly sink Biden, and I suspect they all know it, is illegal immigration. In fact, pretty much every recent poll, it was borne out again in the exit polling, admittedly of Republican voters in New Hampshire, but every single poll is showing that the issue Americans care the most about is illegal immigration. Despite the fact that the media is trying to sanitize and flat out cover up the outright invasion across our southern border, that the Biden administration is clearly allowing to happen. It clearly wants it to happen. Why else would it be suing the state of Texas? Texas is basically doing the Border Patrol's job for it. They're putting up razor wire. They, along with Arizona, a few months back, put up makeshift walls built with shipping containers. What has the Biden administration done routinely? What has it done every single time? It's sued or it's attempted to stop states' ability to protect themselves and their citizens. Now, I allow for the possibility that there is a valid supremacy clause argument here, and this is what John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett bought into in siding with the federal government. They said, look, it's the supremacy clause. The federal law and the federal government are the supreme law of the land. The states can't do something. They can't just defy federal law. They just can't defy the federal government. Otherwise, we'd have chaos. So in the Constitution, there is something known as the supremacy clause. And that is, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Federal law is under that, and state law is under that. If they come into conflict, federal law wins. So I get that. But what I also get, and I think a lot of the American people get, is that the federal government wants millions and millions and millions of people to come into this country and to live illegally. Coming up after the 10 o'clock hour, we will explore the exact reasons why. Why are Democrats risking a loss to Trump in 2024 to get as many illegals in this country as possible?
The Dan O'Donnell Show.
We'll be right back.
The Mark Belling Football Preview and Picking Contest is a podcast. Hosted every Thursday after 7:30 p.m., we will preview the big football games of the weekend and get point spread picks from me, Mike Burlett, Paul, and an audience contestant on the iHeart app or wherever you get your podcast. The Mark Belling Football Preview and Picking Contest podcast, the podcast for your football weekend.
Football information that's both engaging and useful. The Mark Belling Football Preview and Picking Contest podcast from News Talk 1130 WISN.
In this week's Marketers Report, we hear about the importance of local radio from Allison Griffin, head of marketing at State Farm.
iHeart has such a broad broadcast reach that is local, and for us to be able to touch customers with a local feel but at a national scale is so efficient and important for us.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives marketers access to the audiences, trusted influencers, and data you need to grow. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartResults.com.
Hey, Dan O'Donnell here for my friends at Mander Collision and Glass. And you hear me talking all the time about how Mander is your best decision after a collision. But here's their customer, Kathleen, who writes, I took my car to Mander to get fixed after hitting a deer. Clayton was very prompt and professional and was just so on top of everything. He made me feel at ease and everything went smoothly. It looked beautiful when completed. I never expected it, but the interior was cleaned and the exterior was washed after I got the car back. Wow, am I impressed with the good work. Well done. That's just one of dozens and dozens of reviews that I hear about the incredible work that my friends at Mander Collision and Glass do. They really are your best decision after a collision. And with 5 locations to choose from, there's an option for you. Get your repair started at mandercollision.com.
Team up with the Brewers for an epic company event this season. With the Brewers Group Outing, you can trade weekday meetings for a fun-filled day at American Family Field, featuring options like tailgate spaces, all-inclusive areas, seating blocks, and much more. Plus, Brewers ticket representatives will make planning your event simple, as they'll be your personal concierge while booking your outing. Start planning your company outing today at brewers.com/groups.
Hard work and dreams lead to success, but easily filing your taxes with TurboTax and Credit Karma doesn't hurt either. Make filing taxes a walk in the park, because we'll pre-fill your info for you so you can file quickly and confidently. Winner! Get the peace of mind that comes with expert help. Let's go! Being powered by TurboTax means you're backed by the leading tax preparer, and we'll show you all your filing options up front so there are no surprises. File your taxes on Intuit Credit Karma today. Expert help not available with all products. Guarantee details available at turbotax.com/guarantees.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-522-5700. 800-522-5700.
The next time you're due for service, visit richlands.com to schedule an appointment at any of our 5 conveniently located facilities.
All AAA approved and all staffed by ASE certified technicians ready to serve you.
Richlands.
Are you tired of exposing your retirement to stock market risk? How would you like the potential to participate in credited interest from market index returns and limit the downside? Join Joe Brown for the Safe Money and Income Radio Show on Sunday at 7:30 a.m. and 8 p.m.
Measure inflation, ladies and gentlemen. It comes to us from Todd, loyal listener in Watertown. Dan, Pringles were 99 cents. Now they're $2.44 at Walmart. That's my barometer. I like this. Todd. It's the Pringles test. In fact, for years now, it's actually interesting that you bring up Pringles specifically, because Pringles have been used as a prime example of another way that companies are dealing with inflation. It's called shrinkflation. Compare the size of a Pringles chip now to the size of a Pringles chip pre-Biden. I'm not saying Biden is responsible for the shrinking Pringles chips, but because of inflation, what happens is companies will try to reduce costs by shrinking the size of their product or just slightly shrinking the size of the packaging. And Pringles is always mentioned in that. So it's very astute that Todd has noticed that not only have the size of the actual Pringles chips gone down, but their price has gone up exponentially. Time now to name the unhinged liberal of the day.
Trump is Hitler.
We are in pre-Nazi Germany.
All white people are racist.
Trump is dangerous because he's evil.
America is in
All right, so it's not even outside the norm for a liberal to compare Donald Trump to Hitler. That's not going to get you the unhinged liberal of the day. I'm sorry, libs, it's just not. It's become passé to compare Trump to Hitler. But when you open your show with a detailed comparison of how the rise of Hitler is just like not the original rise of Donald Trump, no, but the re-rise of Donald Trump in 2024, you get to be the unhinged liberal of the day. Take it away, platinum blonde Joy Reid.
Like Trump, Hitler was also viewed as a clown, a goon who could be kept in line. And then there are the accommodations that the media makes with autocracy. In November 1922, the New York Times gave its readers their first glimpse of Hitler. It was a profile of the fascist leader's early rise in Bavaria in Germany that got a key point very wrong, asserting that, quote, Hitler's anti-Semitism was not so violent or genuine as it sounded. Before he rose to power, Hitler staged a coup known as the Beer Hall Putsch. It was a coup that failed. Sound familiar? Hitler went to prison for it, but the failed coup set the stage for Nazi Germany. And when he was freed from prison just over a year after the failed putsch, the Times offered this unfortunate and incorrect assessment, that Hitler had been tamed by prison. The next year, Mein Kampf was published. So much of this sounds familiar.
Yeah, clearly, Joy. Yeah, we know. You've been saying the same thing for quite some time now. Do you know what I took away? And I do the job that Americans won't do. I actually watch Joy Reid's opening monologue because, frankly, it's hilarious. And also, I can't stop staring at her platinum blonde locks. I really can't. Is she doing this in solidarity with Margot Robbie because Robbie got snubbed? She didn't get a Best Actress nomination for Barbie. This is the big thing on the left. Even Hillary Clinton is weighing in on this. If we have time, we'll talk about this hilarious controversy. But Joy Reid actually did an entire opening monologue about how Trump is Hitler. Oh, wow, Joy, breaking new ground there. And do you know what I came away thinking after watching this entire thing? Wow, the New York Times really liked Hitler. They wrote article after article after article praising Adolf Hitler throughout his rise to power. Man, you talk about getting something remarkably wrong. I wonder if the New York Times has been wrong about other politicians before. In any event, Joy Reid is your unhinged liberal of the day. And isn't this exactly part of the strategy? And obviously this is what MSNBC hosts do, but isn't this part and parcel of the strategy that Jimmy Carville is outlining? Don't focus on any of the actual issues that actually matter to people. Pretend that there's this one superseding issue, that we will lose our very freedoms if you vote for the other guy. I am telling you, folks, think about if, and leftists, I know a number of you are listening to me. As we learned yesterday on the Belling Show, none of you are man enough to debate me, even if I offer to bribe you to do so. But I know you're listening. I know you're out there. Imagine if Donald Trump started saying, or Republicans started saying, if you vote for Biden, it will be the end of democracy. We can't have Joe Biden on the ballot because he's so dangerous. What would you think? You would think that, well, this is a rather insidious way to criminalize my opposition, to ensure that I actually run elections like Saddam Hussein did and get 100% of the ballot. And the reality is, this is what Biden and the Democrats have been doing. Was there ever a push at any point during the Trump presidency? And there was a couple of years where he had the Senate and the House. Was there ever a push anywhere to get any Democrats thrown off the ballot because they pose a danger to this country? I would argue that you are far more in danger from the people who say, if you don't vote for me, democracy will end, than you are from anyone, and I mean anyone else.
News that's factual, fair, and balanced. This is continuing coverage on News Talk 1130 WISN, Milwaukee.
Good morning, I'm Tad Allen. The general manager of the Bucs says the team fired coach Adrian Griffin because it was the right time to make a change. Speaking with reporters yesterday, John Horst says there wasn't a specific reason to let Griffin go halfway into the season. Horst simply said the Bucs had an opportunity to improve the team. Horst hired Griffin before the season began. The Bucs are said to be close to hiring Doc Rivers, but Horst didn't take any questions about that decision yesterday. The latest on redistricting. Governor Tony Evers will veto Republican lawmakers' changes to his legislative maps. Assembly Speaker Robin Vos calling the Evers maps as originally drawn a Democratic gerrymander.
We tried to figure out a way to live within the spirit and to ensure that we had a bill Governor Evers could sign.
At a stop in Wausau, Evers says that's not happening.
The only one that I'll sign is my maps, and those are not my maps.
The changes would have avoided Republican incumbents from running against each other in redrawn districts. The state Supreme Court is prepared to redraw the maps if the governor and lawmakers don't agree. The United Nations says a shelter housing thousands of displaced civilians in Gaza was hit by tank shells, killing at least 12 people in the middle of intensified fighting in the area. Israel has denied responsibility for the strike, saying that they're investigating whether Hamas was behind the explosion. The U.S. denounced the deadly attack and emphasized the need to protect civilians. Checking the WISN Sports Scoreboard, the Bucs face the Cleveland Cavaliers again at Fiserv Forum tomorrow night after defeating the Cavs last night. From the Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin News Center, I'm Ted Allen on Wisconsin's most listened to radio station, News Talk 1130 WISN.
Welcome back to Ask Hassellus.
If you could spend 1 month anywhere, where would you go?
Easy. I'd go to bed.
I mean anywhere in the world.
Precisely.
You'd spend the entire month in bed?
Specifically, a new Tempur-Pedic from Hassellus Mattress.
Why?
Because I can take 60 months to pay for it. Through Monday, get 60 months interest-free financing on select Tempur-Pedic mattresses, plus a $300 MasterCard gift card.
60 months. That means...
You can buy a Queen Tempur-Pedic ProAdapt Hybrid with ease adjustable base for just $74 a month.
And I get a $300 MasterCard gift card.
Free next day delivery and employee-free showrooms too.
So I can try and buy.
With no pushy sales guy.
Hang on.
What are you doing?
Searching for a travel agent to book a month-long vacation at Hassellus Mattress.
Enjoy 60 months interest-free financing on select Tempur-Pedics through Monday at Hassellus Mattress. Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you or shop online at hassellus.com.
Here's the latest forecast from the Fox 6 weather experts.
Dense fog advisory in effect until noon today. Visibility very poor, so take care on the area roads. We should see a high in the upper 30s near 40 today and stay mild even overnight tonight. More rain this evening into Friday. I'm Fox 6 Chief Meteorologist Rob Haswell.
This report is sponsored by Discover. Did you know Discover wants everyone to feel special? That's why with your Discover card, you have access to 24/7 customer service, as well as $0 fraud liability, which means you're never held responsible for unauthorized purchases. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Limitations apply.
DraftKings, the leader in fantasy sports, just dropped a brand new fantasy app, Pick 6, and getting started is simple. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and sign up using code GREATESTPICK. Just pick between 2 and 6 NFL players. Choose if they're going to have more or less of a stat. For example, will a player have more or less than 100 yards rushing, more or less than 2 touchdowns? Track your lineup and compete against others for a chance at huge cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and sign up with code GREATESTPICK. That's code GREATESTPICK. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Approved local P6 states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 18 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Valid only in states where DraftKings Pick 6 operates. For up-to-date list of states, please visit dkng.co/pick6states. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com.
Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. I'm not talking about unicorns and rainbows. I'm talking about Abby's proprietary, customized, color-coded install techniques. Did you know we have over 8 different ways to install a window compared to most companies only having one? It's not just about the window, it's about the install. We have high-quality installation material that can handle our Wisconsin 100-degree temperature swings. If you want a customized solution for your home, then call Abby today. And if somebody asks you if you know a guy in the business, you can say no, but I know a girl.
I'm Brett Ochtenhagen, owner of Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services and host of the Designer Yard Show. I want to share a landscaping secret with you. Winter is when our ornamental trees and shrubs need us most. We all know that plants need pruning, but why in the winter? Well, first, we can see their structure best when the leaves have fallen. And second, pruning is not so stressful when your plants are dormant. Pruning is affordable and makes a huge impact on the vitality and beauty of your trees and shrubs. So prune this winter and have gorgeous flowers next spring and summer. Pruning also helps keep your plants properly sized. No more dancing around them on the sidewalk or wrestling through them to wash your windows. Call today and schedule a complimentary evaluation of your ornamental plants. Our plant care experts will make sure your trees, shrubs, and perennials perform and look their best. Discover the wonders of nature. Call Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services at 262-392-3444 or look for us online at seasonalservices.com.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-522-5700. 800-522-5700.
Be sure to listen to the Annex Wealth Management Investment Show Saturday mornings at 11 and Sunday afternoons at 1 on News Talk 1130 WISN. Annex provides its expertise to arm listeners with the knowledge and tools to invest wisely. Annex Wealth Management. Know the difference.
Be greeted by an owner at America's largest employee-owned jewelry store.
Welcome to Kessler's.
Offering one of the strongest lineups of talk show hosts in the history of local radio. This is Wisconsin's most listened to radio station. News Talk 1130 WISN.
Rivers was going to be the next head coach of your Milwaukee Bucks. We now know apparently for how much. Shams Charania. Is it Charania or Charania? Either way, he is this side of Adrian Wojnarowski, the most plugged-in NBA insider there is. He's reporting that Doc is signing a contract through the 2026-2027 season worth in the range of $40 million to be the Bucks head coach. For those of you scoring at home, that's about $11.4 million per year through 3.5 seasons. Milwaukee is paying out former coaches Mike Budenholzer and Adrian Griffin, and now Rivers for the next 3.5 years. Now, I'm going to take a wild guess that Rivers is making a whole lot more than a first-time coach like Adrian Griffin. But if the going rate for an NBA head coach is, what, $5 million a year? Could we safely say probably somewhere in that range? And Budenholzer was probably making a good amount more than that. I'm going to guess to get Rivers off the sidelines, the Bucks probably had to pay him more than they would for a normal coach, right? He did have all the leverage, Dave. He did have absolutely all the leverage. And frankly, I know these guys have an itch to coach and they want to get back in the game. I can tell you from experience in doing television and doing radio and doing broadcasting for a living, it is a remarkably easy life. There is not a whole lot of stress going on a TV set and talking about stuff, especially when you're talking about NBA basketball. How old is Doc? 60. He's that young, 63. I would have gone 67, 68, but I don't know. He's been an NBA head coach off and on for 25 years. He's 62. Producer Dave was right. 62. He's been an NBA head coach for 25 years. Man, he was an NBA head coach at 37. He was always one of the most well-respected players in the NBA, just always very highly regarded. Of course, those of us who root for Marquette always loved us some Doc Rivers. We will not handle any Doc Rivers slander on the Dan O'Donnell Show, although I suspect if I know Bucks fans, they're going to be praising this hiring, and then by about the second round of the playoffs, where Doc's run runs usually end. They're going to be screaming for him to be fired. We're just going to collect ex-head coaches that we can pay as a Milwaukee Bucks organization. By the end of next year, they're going to be clamoring to bring Phil Jackson out of retirement. We're just going to spend $75 million a year on coaches who aren't actually coaching for the Milwaukee Bucks. I would expect the Bucks at some point today, maybe a press conference is scheduled to introduce Doc as the head coach of the Bucks. Bucks did beat the Cleveland Cavaliers last night. John Horst talked about the firing of Adrian Griffin, saying it was a difficult situation. Giannis and Dame Dalla weighed in on the firing of Adrian Griffin, saying, look, it's unfortunate. This is the thing you sort of hate about the business. And the thing that I guess I don't get, Doc was available when the Bucks hired Griffin. Was this really just Giannis having his say, this was Giannis's guy, so we're going to defer to him? Was this a cost savings move? Granted, and this is a key point that I think has sort of been lost in the shuffle. When Griffin was hired, and Griffin has this idea about defense where you have your guards constantly pressing the ball, that would have worked, and I think it would have worked very well with Drew Holiday. The Bucks made the trade for Damian Lillard, who frankly isn't a very good defender and doesn't play. Look, when you're scoring 28 a game, generally you see defense as your time to catch a quick breather. Everyone knows what Dame Dalla does. He's one of the best scoring guards in the history of the league, okay? But he doesn't play a ton of defense. So did the Bucks think they had their guy with Adrian Griffin when they were going to start Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton at the guard? And Grayson Allen, also another good on-ball defender, and then things just got all messed up when they traded for Dame Lillard, and Griffin was just not flexible enough to recognize that his defense wasn't working. And I think what this move was made in an eye toward was clearly the playoffs, because regular season, I mean, let's face it, you get in the top 6, you're fine. Obviously, you'd like to be the number 1 overall seed, get home court advantage, as the Bucks proved, getting shellacked by the Miami Heat last year, which cost Coach Bud his job. Home court advantage doesn't always really matter all that much. I happen to believe that it does, and you want to get the number 1 overall seed, but the horror story over the past few years, over the past decade, has been the Golden State Warriors. They went all out to break the Chicago Bulls all-time wins record. And they got 73 wins in the regular season, and they blew a 3-1 lead to LeBron and the Cleveland Cavs. So nobody wants to be the 2016 Golden State Warriors. And in fact, the Warriors very nearly lost to Kevin Durant and the Oklahoma City Thunder that year. People forget the Thunder had them up 3-1. And then they managed to blow that lead before the Warriors blew the 3-1 lead to Cleveland. And then the Warriors immediately go whining to Durant and say, come join us. We're never going to beat LeBron if you don't. But I digress. Doc Rivers, 3.5 years, $40 million to coach the Bucks. And when they inevitably fire him 2.5 years into this, we'll be paying yet another ex-coach. Cold Hard Cash Contest word this hour is money. M-O-N-E-Y. Money. You have got until 55 past the hour to go to our website and enter the keyword money to enter the contest for this hour. By far the number one issue for voters right now is, I won't even call it illegal immigration. I'm going to call it what it is: an outright invasion of our southern border. How else do you explain this? According to Michael Knowles, the great Daily Wire host and columnist, multimedia personality, if you took all the illegal aliens that Biden has let into the country and made a state out of them, that state would be more populous than Wyoming, Vermont, Alaska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Delaware, and Rhode Island combined. The population of illegal immigrants allowed into this country, and I will stress the word allowed into this country, facilitated in their entry into this country by the Biden administration, is about 6.2 million people. 6.2 million people. The population of Wisconsin is 5.8 million people. This is like the population of Wisconsin plus a Dane County. All right? That's how many people Biden has let into this country in 3 years. Now, think about it like this. As of the end of the last fiscal year in October, there were 5.8 million people allowed into this country illegally, roughly the population of Wisconsin. To put that into perspective, 3 years, we get 5.8 million illegal entries. In the previous decade, there were 4.5 million people who came into this country. It is entirely possible that within the next year, by the end of Biden's term, we will have 10 million people allowed into this country illegally. Now, since we have 6.2, it would be a tall order, but if any administration can do it, it would be the Biden administration. Near as anyone can figure, there are 10.2 million people living in this country illegally right now. 10.2 illegal aliens in this country before Biden took over. We've increased that number by about 60% in just 3 years. How you can say this isn't intentional is beyond me, especially when the Biden administration keeps suing Texas whenever Texas puts up something that might deter illegal immigration. There was a video that went a little viral on Twitter X overnight and yesterday, I think it was. It was a group of illegal immigrants. Folks, they changed the language on you. Migrants. This is the word. Migrant. Migrant, 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 migrant. We have moved from undocumented immigrant to migrant. I am not going to use migrant. I am going to use illegal. So there's a group of illegals, and they cross the Rio Grande, and they're standing and just waiting right on the side of the razor wire where they can't get through. And they look positively dismayed that there is some barrier to their entry into the United States. And they're just sitting there. At least they were when this video is taken. I was told that they were sitting there for hours, just waiting for the Border Patrol guards to come in and cut the razor wire and escort them into the country. You're telling me that the word has not gotten out, that the Biden administration will hold your hand, get you processed. And Kamala Harris actually gave up the game a little bit a couple of days ago when she was in Wisconsin. She was asked, okay, what is the Biden administration plan for combating this invasion? I want you to listen to her answer. Remember, early on in this crisis, which started almost the second Biden and Harris were inaugurated, Harris was named the Biden administration's border czar. She's never, of course, referred to as the border czar anymore, but at least at one point she was. This is what she says we need to do to control the situation at the border.
We should have a bipartisan approach to fixing this problem, which is a long-standing problem. But what are those solutions? The solution includes putting resources at the border to do what we can to process people effectively and putting in place laws that actually allow for a meaningful pathway to citizenship.
So what she wants is to have more Border Patrol and ICE officials down at the border to process illegals. And what she means by that is to get them into the country, to get them processed and on their way wherever they're going to live in the interior of the United States. And then her second part of the plan is to give them a pathway to citizenship. In what way will this disincentivize more illegal immigration? In what way? It won't, and that's the point. So why are Democrats doing this, when huge numbers of American voters are saying, hey, the invasion at the southern border is something that we're really concerned about, and we might actually not vote for you solely on this issue. Well, it's always been for Democrats about the long game. In fact, this goes back, it goes back to the 1986 amnesty that Teddy Kennedy dreamed up and unfortunately outsmarted Ronald Reagan on this, because Democrats were promising, okay, if we just have a blanket amnesty, we'll control the border. Turns out they all had their fingers crossed and we never had border security. But what they've always wanted was outlined in a seminal book that was published in 2004 called The Emerging Democratic Majority. And this sort of codified, it put into words what Democrats had thought for the better part of 20 years up to this point, and that was this idea that demographics is destiny. If you asked a Democrat back then, the emerging Democrat majority was going to be young, upwardly mobile professionals, the neo-yuppies of the early to mid-2000s. It was going to be African-American voters who were having higher birth rates than white Americans, who were sort of aging out and tended to be more Republican. And the key piece of this, they readily admitted, was immigration. The more people who are coming into this country, they are far more likely to vote Democrat than they are Republican. They actually wrote a book, Rui Teixeira and another author whose name escapes me, The Emerging Democratic Majority. And their idea was that because of the changing face of America, the Obama majority, and they said, well, we were proven correct in the Obama majority. 2008, this emerging Democratic majority was going to turn Texas blue. It's weird how it's always Texas. Texas is going to turn blue. Texas is going to turn blue. It's not, North Dakota is going to turn blue. It's not the upper Midwest is going to be permanently blue, but they're obsessed with turning Texas blue. Weird how that works, isn't it? And wouldn't you know it, do you know what some of the bluest counties in Texas are? The counties right along the southern border. So weird how that works, isn't it? So they were saying in 2008 and then again in 2012, this emerging Democratic majority was never, ever, ever going to be beaten. It was only a matter of time, because what was happening is all of the people who were coming into this country illegally were having children, these so-called dreamers. We, of course, under Obama, need to make these kids citizens. We need to put them on a pathway to citizenship. And, of course, if you're born in the United States, even if your parents are illegal aliens, you're a United States citizen. The calculus was always these people are going to grow up Democrat. We are going to have a permanent majority. And this isn't, of course, the great replacement theory. And I love how, especially in the wake of the Buffalo supermarket shooting in 2022, we were saying, oh, this is racist Republicans, noticing what Democrats were openly saying for the better part of 3 decades, that demographics is destiny. It's not that there is an open fear of white voters being replaced. It's that Democrats have always been willing to sacrifice in the short term to play the long game, understanding full well that eventually Hispanic, Central, South American birth rates, I should say, are far greater than those of people in the United States and across Europe, and people of European descent, people who typically would be more likely to vote Republican. They're less likely to have 5 and 6 kids. Well, if Democrats can play the racial politics game and can appeal to those parents who will then raise Democrat kids, they're going to have this permanent majority. But a funny thing happened on the way to demographics being destiny. That thing was Donald Trump. Paradoxically, Donald Trump, who is supposedly the most racist presidential candidate in history, got a staggering number of Hispanic voters, especially younger working class Hispanic voters. Same thing with black voters. Trump did very well amongst black and brown voters. So what was always sort of inherently racist about this demographics is destiny belief by the Democrats is that Hispanic voters and black voters, and they've always thought this about black voters, that they are this monolith, that one black voter equals another black voter. They all think the same. They're all going to vote the same. It's not true. And what was going on at roughly the same time that Donald Trump was saying, hey, let's drain the swamp. Let's get back to normalcy. Let's make America great again. That message was catching on with black and Hispanic Democrats who were increasingly disgusted by the far leftward lurch of the left, especially on social issues, gay marriage, transgenderism, all of this sort of stuff. Just take a look at what black and brown voters think about transgender rights and men competing in women's sports. So this has served to sort of turn off these voters, and they're increasingly likely to be Republican, but that hasn't stopped the calculus in the minds of Democrats. What they've been doing is essentially importing a new underclass to rule over. The fundamental problem with Democrat politics, the fundamental problem with neo-socialists and communists is that the more upwardly mobile people are, the less likely they are to vote for socialists. And what constantly happens in America is that people are upwardly mobile. Despite the best efforts of the left to convince you otherwise, people are constantly bettering their circumstances in this country. They're getting better jobs. They're getting better education than the generation before them. And where we're seeing a lot of this happen is in black and Hispanic neighborhoods. And this, as we know, makes them more likely to become Republicans. Guess what? The more upwardly mobile you are as you go from the lower class to the lower middle class to the middle class to the upper middle class, you're increasingly likely to be a Republican. Well, this is a big problem for people who rely on those who are dependent, the dependent classes of government. And despite promises that the illegal aliens that are coming into this country are totally going to be self-sufficient and they're not going to be a drain on resources, well, they are. Just ask Eric Adams, the mayor of New York. Just ask Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago. Just ask the people in Boston who are dealing with illegal aliens being housed on the floor of Logan International Airport. They are a huge drain on social services. But again, Democrats don't care so long as these people come in and so long as their children vote Democrat. We will take a look back at forgotten history coming up next on The Dan O'Donnell Show.
The Dan O'Donnell Show is coming right back.
We have a customer who lays her Afghan for her daily nap right in front of her bedroom window, so it's nice and warm when she lays down, almost like it was pulled from the dryer. I told her windows aren't actually supposed to do that, and this was probably a sign of a failing window. When a window is working as it should, in summer the window reflects heat outside, while in the winter heat is reflected back in. Another sign of a failing window is fading. The same customer soon noticed her bedding and even the wood on her bedside table had faded. New windows keep harmful UV rays from fading your things. When you notice fading, it's time for new windows. Marvin replacement windows are built around you and are top rated for energy efficiency and UV ray protection. And Lisbon Storm Screen and Door can get them in more shapes, sizes, and color combinations than anyone. This is David Wilhelm. When it's time for new replacement windows, remember your clear choice for more is Lisbon Storm Screen and Door.
Your clear choice for more, Lisbon Storm Screen and Door.
Find us at 51st and Lisbon.
Tune in every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. as Ellenbecker Investment Group highlights local people and organizations who are using their time and their talents to give back to make a difference in our community. Milwaukee's philanthropic community. Visit ellenbecker.com to learn more.
Hard work and dreams lead to success, but easily filing your taxes with TurboTax and Credit Karma doesn't hurt either. Make filing taxes a walk in the park, because we'll pre-fill your info for you so you can file quickly and confidently. Winner! Get the peace of mind that comes with expert help. Let's go! Being powered by TurboTax means you're backed by the leading tax preparer, and we'll show you all your filing options up front so there are no surprises. File your taxes on Intuit Credit Karma today. Expert help not available with all products. Guarantee details available at TurboTax.com/guarantee.
I'm Dan Small. Join me for Outdoors Radio, 6 a.m. Saturday on News Talk 1130 WISN. Brought to you by the Milwaukee Boat Show, January 19 through 21 and 24 through 28 at State Fair Park. MilwaukeeBoatShow.com.
It's obvious. The unthinkable continues. Most Americans know something very wrong is happening. People in charge keep telling you that everything's fine and to stop noticing. But you know better. That's why self-reliant folks are investing in emergency food storage. And you should too. My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, are the ones you can trust. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com and secure their best-selling 3-month emergency food kits. Each contains tasty breakfasts, lunches, and dinners averaging over 2,000 calories per day. Save $200 on each 3-month food kit you purchase. My Patriot Supply also sells solar generators, gravity-powered water filters, off-grid room heaters for when the power goes out, heirloom seeds, and survival gear. Order by 3 p.m. and your items ship that same day and arrive quickly on your doorstep in unmarked boxes. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com today. Time is running out to prepare for what's coming. MyPatriotSupply.com.
I'm American.
Conservative thought.
Not just talk.
This is the Dan O'Donnell Show.
Each week here on the Dan O'Donnell Show, we tell the stories of the red, the white, and the blue that you might not have heard in history class, you might not have read in a history book, but the stories are there. The stories are rich with the American spirit. In fact, they are the stories that make us the great people we are today. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for Forgotten History. In history's biggest moments, sometimes it's the smallest things that carry the most significance. Sometimes, amid history's greatest tragedies, the slightest glimmers of hope can help a nation carry on. Because in tragedy, there is always hope when there is determination to remember, recover, and rebuild. This is the forgotten history of the first soccer ball in space. Janelle Onizuka loved soccer, absolutely loved it. A member of the Clear Lake High School girls team, she played every chance she could. And her father, Ellison, loved to watch her play. She was his pride and joy, and her love of soccer was his, too. In early 1986, though, both Ellison and Janelle were thinking about something more pressing than their shared love of soccer. In just a few days, Ellison would be going to space. Janelle was just as proud of her dad as he was of her when she played soccer, so she had an idea. She had the entire Clear Lake girls varsity and junior varsity teams sign a ball for her father and his crewmates. On it, they wrote in big, bold letters, "Good luck, Challenger Crew." Ellison was so touched that he promised his daughter that he would bring that ball with him and that at least a small part of the team that he and his daughter loved so much would make it all the way to space. After a few delays, Ellison and his 6 crewmates were cleared for launch on January 28th, 1986.
We have main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
The Clear Lake soccer team, like thousands of other school children across America, watched. But suddenly something went wrong. Flames erupted from the shuttle.
We're awaiting word. They're holding their breath, just, I'm sure, as everyone else is. You saw it just a few moments ago, about 45 seconds after liftoff, a huge fireball in the sky.
We have a report from the flight dynamics officer that the vehicle has exploded. Flight director confirms that. We are looking at checking with the recovery forces to see what can be done at this point.
In just a matter of seconds, America went from exuberance to horror.
to overwhelming grief.
There appears to have been a very serious accident involving the Space Shuttle Challenger.
Janelle Onizuka was devastated. Her father was gone, and with a nation in mourning, it was unclear whether his dream of space exploration would ever fully resume. A few days after the disaster, recovery crews found something small, but somewhat extraordinary. Inside Ellison's duffel bag, tattered and faded but still intact, was the autographed soccer ball. It was a monument to Ellison's heroism and his love for his daughter and her soccer team, and she donated it to Clear Lake High School as a permanent memorial. There it stayed for 30 years as America's space program resumed and flourished, reminding generations of students of Ellison Onizuka's sacrifice in the name of exploration. It was a symbol of hope in the face of overwhelming tragedy and of the indomitable will to overcome. In 2015, Shane Kimbrough was helping in that effort. The astronaut was also the parent of a Clear Lake Junior High School student and stopped to look at the ball every time he was in the high school. Soon, he would be taking off for the International Space Station. And Clear Lake girls soccer coach Jared Schreiber had a thought. What if Shane finished the mission that Ellison started and took that soccer ball into space? In 2017, he did, and posted to social media a picture of that tattered, faded monument to heroism, sacrifice, and undying love. Coach Schreiber told ABC News he was moved to tears.
I immediately broke down in tears. I mean, it's almost indescribable, and it's both wonderful and really emotional at the same time.
Similarly moved was Janelle Onizuka, a Clear Lake High School parent herself, who in a statement said, "The soccer ball, in many ways, has continued the mission my father embarked upon so many years ago. It has continued to travel and explore space while inspiring so many through its history. I am grateful for the memories and future of this one special item that touched my dad and me, along with so many others." And when Shane Kimbrough returned home, he gave the ball back to Clear Lake High School.
About 2 years ago, Dr. Engel and Coach Schreiber had an idea, a vision, to get this ball to space where it was supposed to be and return back to Earth. Dr. Engel, Coach Schreiber, mission accomplished.
Dan O'Donnell here. It's This Week with Annex Wealth Management, joined as I am every week by Dave Spano, President and CEO of Annex. This week, it's earnings season, it's political season, it's the start of a new year, all kind of coming together to produce big numbers on the stock market, but still a wall of worry and a whole lot of uncertainty, Dave.
Yeah, you got all of that. That's right, Dan. A lot of new things that are going to happen. We're going to get walloped with all of the political news. We know that. But earnings season is starting to come out, and we expect better earnings than we thought. And so those are two really good things. And, of course, it's a new year. People want to look at their portfolio. All three of these things together really are going to demand that if you have some money in motion, money on the sideline, now is the time to go through your portfolio and say, should I be doing this on my own, or can I get the help from a fee-only fiduciary and make sure that my tax plan, my estate plan, and my investment plan are all synchronized, are working together as a team.
That's right, and that's something that a lot of people don't quite think about. We think about getting to a certain number in our retirement, we get to where we want to be, but we forget the tax implications of all of that. And that's why you really do need to sit down with somebody who's working with and working for you as a fee-only fiduciary. In fact, I just did a couple of weeks ago, right before the new year, sat down with the team at Annex, and they gave me some tax strategies which I had never thought of
before, but are really, really helping my money go further, and I can't thank them enough. And I can't recommend highly enough that you sit down with the team at Annex and do the exact same thing. Get a free wealth metric. It's a review of your portfolio at annexwealth.com. For Dave Spano, President and CEO of Annex, I'm Dan O'Donnell. This has been This Week with Annex Wealth Management.
This is Michael Lynch from the Lynch Truck Center. We've been working hard sourcing work trucks from all over the country. We currently have over 300 commercial work trucks in stock and ready for your choice of upfit. Our sales team is 100% dedicated to commercial trucks, which means our truck professionals can get you the right truck right now. Our new inventory of Chevrolet, GMC, Isuzu, Hino, not to mention our used inventory, combined with nearly 30 commercial financial lenders, ensures the lowest rates possible for you and the fastest buying experience. Our service center has over 20 dedicated truck bays running 2 shifts, a contact-free sales process, and delivery drivers ready to deliver your truck right to your door. We know your time is important, so we make sure our process is quick and hassle-free. Find your new truck today at lynchtruckcenter.com or stop into the Lynch Truck Center at Highway 36 in Waterford. We won't disappoint you.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Flimsy, feeble, flaccid. That's how you can describe most pre-approval letters these days. Heck, a lot of big banks issue pre-approval letters using soft credit pulls instead of real credit reports. Do you really want to compete in today's still low inventory market with a soft credit pull and a pre-approval that's silent on 2 of the 3 critical elements of a mortgage approval? A rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval from AccuNet not only verifies your credit with a real credit report, we also verify your income and down payment, and then issue a letter with a $2,000 guarantee to back it up. And now, AccuNet is issuing property-specific pre-approvals that often come with this sweet phrase: no appraisal required. That's right, AccuNet may be able to issue your pre-approval at or above the seller's asking price without needing an appraisal. Today's home market is still a metaphorical knife fight. Your bank is offering you, well, a pocket knife. AccuNet is Crocodile Dundee. Now that's a knife, mate. Click on the blue button today at accunet.com.
So when you have a hot housing market, why would you pay 6%? I understand. Some of you might have challenging properties, houses in need of major repair, perhaps even a lot or location that just isn't all that great. Maybe you do need to pay 6%. This is Bob Tarantino from Redefined Realty. Our 3.99% commission plan is perfect for every house ranging from pretty much normal to absolutely stunning. Visit redefinedrealty.com and save thousands on your next sale.
Learn the secrets to create your own ultimate backyard retreat with Brett Ochtenhagen of Brett Ochtenhagen Seasonal Services. Tune in every Saturday at 1 p.m. on News Talk 1130 WISN. Learn more at seasonalservices.com.
Are you tired of exposing your retirement to stock market risk? How would you like the potential to participate in credited interest from market index returns and limit the downside? Join Joe Brown for the Safe Money and Income Radio Show on Sunday at 7:30 a.m. and 8 p.m.
Metro Milwaukee Homebuyer can give you a cash offer for your home in just 5 minutes, no matter its condition, because selling your home should not be complicated. Visit MetroMilwaukeeHomebuyer.com, pick your closing date, and the rest is simple. That's MetroMilwaukeeHomebuyer.com.
If you or a loved one needs a personal injury attorney, ask around. Lawyers, judges, law enforcement officers, insurance adjusters, refer Warshevsky because we achieve maximum judgments and settlements. Their ordeal, their injury is about the money. Warshevsky.com.
Will you retire well? Get the answer by scheduling your complimentary retirement review today at thekowalway.com or give us a call at 262-522-4040. Our team of nationally recognized fiduciary advisors are here to help you feel more confident about your retirement.
For more information about contests on News Talk 1130 WISN, go to newstalk1130.com/rules.
Visit BrilloHomeImprovements.com. iHeartRadio is the easy-to-use app for music and radio. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
Evers has promised to veto the Republican redistricting plan, which was passed by both houses of the legislature yesterday. The Wisconsin Assembly adopting the Senate plan, something of a surprise. It was originally reported by WisconsinRightNow.com that Republicans were going to use the so-called Iowa model, where the nonpartisan commission would draw the maps. That was not correct, when in fact all along it was assumed that Republicans were going to, for lack of a better word, cave to Governor Evers and adopt Governor Evers' electoral maps. You might remember that this battle started when the Republican legislature and Democrat Evers were unable to come to a consensus on electoral maps. The legislature, which has the constitutional authority to draw the maps, did so. Governor Evers rejected them. He empowered a totally unconstitutional People's Maps Commission of just random Democrats that he proposed and nominated, and there was no confirmation or anything like that. They were just on the commission, and they drew their own maps. Well, it turned out those legislative maps were rejected by the United States Supreme Court in March 2022 as being an unconstitutional racial gerrymander. So what Republicans wanted to do was to take, and Evers has since come back with new maps that don't have the racial gerrymander aspect after the Supreme Court right before Christmas said, okay, we're throwing out the Republican maps because reasons, and we're going to invite all manner of groups, none of which outside of the legislature are constitutionally empowered to draw maps, to do just that. And we're going to pick the best ones. Look, we've hired our shiny new little college professor experts from out of state. Again, not constitutionally authorized to select or draw legislative maps, but that's just what they're doing. And what Robin Vos, the Assembly Speaker, apparently wanted to do was to simply adopt Evers' maps, because if the legislature and Governor Evers can agree, then maybe Republicans can ward off some of the damage from some of these more radical maps. They saw the Evers maps as the least bad scenario. Well, Republicans in the state Senate, concerned about the fact that a number of Evers maps put them against each other, incumbent Republican senators and Republican incumbent assembly members against each other in these newly formed districts, they said, okay, we're going to make some changes to Evers maps, and we're going to pass maps that make some slight changes so there aren't as many Republicans going against each other. Well, Evers' spokesperson, Britt Cuddeback, who I believe is still in an unlawful relationship with her superior, real Governor Maggie Gao, said Governor Evers has been clear. 99% of his maps are not his maps. He's going to veto this. Sure enough, as soon as the Assembly followed suit, when it became clear that the Senate wasn't going to go along with passing Evers' maps in toto, the Assembly said, okay, we'll pass the Senate's version because an identical version needs to be passed out of the Assembly and the Senate to go to Governor Evers. Evers tweets out yesterday, these aren't my maps. They're gerrymandered so that Republicans can stay in office. I'm going to veto them. Meanwhile, the classic, and I mean classic, gerrymandering technique has always been you draw your opponent's incumbents into the same district to, by necessity, get rid of a good number of them. This is a hallmark of gerrymandering. Clearly, Evers' maps are incredibly gerrymandered. Only thing they really take into account is how much of a Democrat majority they're going to give Evers and his party. Every one of these maps is an unlawful gerrymander because each one of them is clearly designed to break up what is supposedly a Republican gerrymander. But weirdly enough, every single time, and I mean every single time, the federal court system has looked at Wisconsin's maps, they've held them in place. And this has been an issue. Democrats have been whining about gerrymandered maps since the redistricting following the 2010 census. They actually took it to the United States Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court, said there's no gerrymandering here, didn't even take the case. In fact, the only gerrymandering, ironically enough, that the United States Supreme Court has ever found in Wisconsin in recent redistricting history has been the unconstitutional racial gerrymander that Governor Evers drew and the Wisconsin Supreme Court approved in 2022. Dan O'Donnell Show, coming right back.
If you love football information and think you can profit from it, listen to the Mark Belling Football Preview and Picking Contest, Thursdays in the 5 o'clock hour. Mark and Mike Merlette from American Sports Analysts look at pro and college games. Plus, one listener gets to pick a game against a spread or an over-under number for a chance to win $100.
The Mark Belling Football Preview and Picking Contest is presented by Holiday Automotive of Fond du Lac. 6 automotive brands all in one place. It's worth the trip. HolidayAutomotive.com.
The Milwaukee Admirals host rival Rockford Friday night at 7, and rock legends Tesla will perform post-game as part of the Admirals Concert Series, presented by Coors Light, Wrangler, and Toyota. It's also an Ian's Pizza Student Night. High school and college students with a valid student ID get a game ticket and a slice of Ian's Pizza for just $13. Pizza redeemable at select Ian's Pizza locations. The Ads battle San Diego Tuesday at 6:30 on Hockey is for Everyone night. It's also a Summerfest winning weekday. An Admirals victory scores all attendees a free ticket to the next weekday home game, courtesy of Summerfest. That's Admirals Hockey Friday at 7 with rock legends Tesla and a post-game concert event, and Tuesday at 6:30 on Hockey is for Everyone night. Admirals Hockey is presented by Landmark Credit Union. For ticket information, including ticket packages, upcoming promotions, to buy tickets, and stylish Ads merchandise, please log on to MilwaukeeAdmirals.com or download the Admirals app. Remember, don't just buy tickets, invest in memories.
If you're someone who's experiencing spine and musculoskeletal pain or shoulder, hip, and knee pain, think Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Jay Weber here, talking about the doctors and techs that I trust with my shoulder problems. I've had issues for years with micro tears, not enough to warrant surgery, but painful and annoying nonetheless. I discovered that it wasn't a pain that I just had to live with, and Orthopedic Associates doctors gave me options to help the problem and alleviate the pain that I never knew were available. So if you're like me, know that you just don't have to live with it, and you will be impressed with Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin and their staff. I've never waited more than a few minutes after check-in to see the doctor or tech, and I've never felt forgotten in an exam room. Their physicians are committed to providing the highest quality joint care, from simple strains and tears to sports injuries to complex joint replacements. In fact, Orthopedic Associates specializes in same-day total joint replacements at their own ambulatory surgery center in Pewaukee. You can find them at orthowisconsin.com. orthowisconsin.com. Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There is a difference.
There's no better time than the new year to help protect your identity and finances. LifeLock detects potential threats to your identity that you may miss on your own. If you do become a victim, a U.S.-based LifeLock restoration specialist will work to fix it. LifeLock is the New Year's resolution that's easy to keep. Save 25% off your first year. Call 1-800-LifeLock or go to lifelock.com. Promo code CLAY to save 25%. That's lifelock.com, promo code CLAY.
Whether it's a complete kitchen or bath remodeling or replacement fixtures, the experts at S&K Remodeling can help you. Their designers have their fingers on the pulse of your dreams. Stop by the S&K working showroom and let the remodeling team show you ideas from ordinary to extraordinary. Call 262-782-7185 or visit SNKRemodeling.com.
When it comes to remodeling, one call does it all. S&K Remodeling.
Attorney Joe Cordell. Business owners and professionals face special challenges in divorce court. In addition to everything else going on, they have to contend with allegations that they are earning more than they are, coupled with claims on their business or practice itself. Clients with assets depend on their divorce lawyer's skills in these matters, and that's why it's so important to hire someone that has those skills.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Milwaukee attorneys. 111 East Kilbourne Avenue, Suite 1650, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53202.
A great window is only as good as the crew that's installing it, and that's exactly why you can count on Semper Fi to keep you safe, warm, and dry.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry, Semper Fi.
I'm Jim Cantrell, and I believe we can show you a wiser way to build your wealth. So go to FinancialStrategiesInc.com and schedule a no-cost consultation.
Financial Strategies, a wiser way to build your wealth.
At Bellman Homes, we know high-quality materials and 2x6 walls built with studs 16 inches on center make better homes. If you go to bellmanhomes.com/walls, you can learn more.
Bellman Homes. Bonnes Medispa Brookfield is laser-focused, providing cutting-edge aesthetic technology, allowing Bonnes ladies to look the way you feel inside, including Moxie, the laser safe for all types and tones of skin, including dark skin. Your body, your life, your skin. Love it. drbonnes.com.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Conservative thought, not just talk. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show, doing double duty for one more day this week on the Mark Belling Late Afternoon Show, News Talk 1130 WISN. If you are listening to us in Milwaukee, do check it out. Mark will be back on Monday doing his show Monday through Thursday of next week. Today, we are doing the Mark Belling football picking contest. I'll have Mark's pick, as well as picks from Mike Merlette, an audience contestant, and Paul, who actually won almost accidentally by picking the Green Bay Packers against the San Francisco 49ers. This is precisely why I hate these massive point spreads. When it gets up to 9.5, 10 points, it's a big number to overcome. Granted, okay, the Baltimore Ravens did handle their business. They were only something like 7.5-point favorites over the Houston Texans. They won by, I think, 3 touchdowns. It was 31-10 or whatever it was. So today we are going to preview the NFC and AFC championship games. The Detroit Lions take on the San Francisco 49ers. And here's the question that I've sort of been wrestling with. Is it okay to root for the Lions? Dave says yes. It's not like it's the Vikings or the Bears where they're the hated rivals. They've just always been the Lions, right? They have been, if you can find a longer suffering group of football fans than Detroit Lions fans, I'd love to spot them. All right, here's the question, though. Here's the question. Well, the Jets have at least won a Super Bowl. I mean, you go back to Joe Namath, but Dave says the New York Jets are longer suffering than Detroit. Detroit Lions, they haven't won an NFL championship since like the 50s. Yeah, 1957. Very good, Dave. Was their last NFL championship, predating the Super Bowl by about a decade. Here's a better question. Who are you rooting for in the AFC? Are you rooting for the Ravens just because of Taylor Swift? No. Okay, Dave says Lamar Jackson has been his fantasy quarterback since he's been a rookie. Probably a good pick. Lamar is almost certainly going to win MVP for the second time in his career. He was, I think, the first player ever to win it unanimously. The first time he won in 2018, 2019, somewhere around there. You know my story. I grew up rooting for the San Francisco 49ers. They were sort of my second team. You know, once the Packers are eliminated, you need to find a team to root for in the playoffs. And they were always mine. So I'm probably going to be rooting for San Francisco. I guess I like Detroit. I really like their head coach, Dan Campbell. I like Jared Goff and the positive attitude he's had since the LA Rams basically told Jared Goff, you suck. We're never going to win a championship with you. We're trading you for Matt Stafford. And what does he do? He just orchestrates the complete turnaround of the Detroit Lions organization. That said, I don't like the idea that the Lions might be good for several years. So I'm hoping they experience just extreme heartache and it carries into next season. They finish 4-13, but that's just me. Baltimore, Kansas City, I'm a little bit more ambivalent on. You know who the NFL is rooting for, right? The NFL is secretly hoping that the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl and they can say to Taylor, you're there. Why don't you do a couple of songs with Usher at the halftime show? We can replace, who do they have singing the national anthem? Reba McEntire. We can replace Reba. No big deal. Taylor, you want to do the anthem? How about we have, and I want to know if there would be riots for this one. We have Taylor Swift sing the Black national anthem. What do you think would happen if they have Taylor Swift doing because they are doing the Black national anthem again. Do they air it? Yeah, I believe they. Could you imagine if they didn't air the Black National Anthem, Dave? My goodness. Of course they're airing the Black National Anthem. There is going to be 2 weeks between the Super Bowl and the championships games. There always are. There was the one. It was for a couple of years they experimented with not doing it that way and having the Pro Bowl afterwards, I think. No, for a long time. The Super Bowl is going to be February 11th. So you're going to have the weekend of February 4th off, and then Super Bowl week starts. How soon, by the way, and I think it's coming in our lifetimes, does the Super Bowl get played in March? Are we going to expand the regular season to like 20 games at some point? I'm saying in our lifetimes. I'm saying in 40 years. Okay, we've already gone from 12 to 17 games. Is it really a stretch to say that over the next 40 years, you would have 20 regular season games and you start playing the Super Bowl the first weekend of March? Because the Super Bowl used to be the last weekend or the second last weekend in January. Then it was the first weekend in February. Now it's the second weekend in February. I'm telling you, these owners are going to want football is the only thing people watch on TV. They are going to want more of it. The networks that carry football, ESPN just had the big merger with the NFL Network. They are a full invested partner in the NFL. I'm telling you, at some point in our lifetimes, you will see the Super Bowl played in March. We will have to discuss that this afternoon. Taking a couple of hours back at 3 p.m. Talk to you then.